Stuart, a really difficult evening, obviously relegation tonight. Just your thoughts overall to start off with, please.
It's the lowest moment by a country mile, Peter. Us as a football club, individuals, people associated with the football club, the brilliant fan base that travel down and come down here with a lot of trepidation, it would need to be said, in terms of the situation you sit in. It's the lowest moment by a distance. It's the lowest moment just now, but it's been the lowest moment over the course of the entire season. I'll stand here, I'll do the interviews, I'll speak to everybody, just spoke to the other press there, just spoke to the players, and I'll take accountability, I'll take hate for everything, but we've had an opportunity over an entire season to make sure that this wasn't what it felt like and this wasn't what it was going to be. And you know what, Peter, the game itself is symptomatic of us, our season, everything that we've seen little bits where, you know, we look rejuvenated in the last couple of weeks. We're in charge of the game today. We're obviously now starting to look over our shoulder and hear what other things were. The Ross County supporters told us what was going on elsewhere. We knew it, and then we just switch off in the game. You know, inexplicably, 2 crosses into our box, 2 free headers. You know, I watch us against other teams. We have to work so hard to get those opportunities, and just as I say, with a flick of a switch, we just switch off and we can't defend our penalty box. And then I think the instant that leads to the penalty at the very end, I'm not laying claim that we were going to win the game with whatever it was, less than a minute left in the game, but cannon off each other. It's kind of Keystone Cops at the back end of the pitch, which ultimately leads to a penalty. Again, for me, that just sums the entire thing up. I'm obviously hurting. I've got rage, I've got anger. We go to try and take our medicine from those who rightfully are disgruntled. We have to listen to it's classless in terms of the music that's getting played, and people want to rub your nose in it in football. That's what comes now. I don't know where that's came from in football, but it's something that's there. But that's not me blaming anybody. I've just said to the players there that we need to stand up and take that. You know, we start to show a wee bit of fight, and there's a few skirmishes after the game finishes. The music comes on, people start to get irate. It's not that I'm any less annoyed than them. You know, bits that you will never forget, bits that you'll always remember. But that idea then trying to fight it and start to argue it after we've been relegated is just absolute nonsense for me. I keep going back to it. People have paid their hard money to watch us all season, and time again we've let them down. And from my side, there's nothing I'm going to say to the Ross County fans that's going to make them any better. There's nothing I'm going to say to anybody associated with the football club that's going to make them any better, other than the fact that, you know, what comes now, there'll be big change at the football club. We didn't really see that as much moving down to the Championship. We were seen as a big scalp. We were seen as a team that everybody wants to turn over. Everybody wants to enjoy you being at the bottom end of the table. And again, we have to take ownership for that. But the thing that comes next is we all know, double relegation. Then there'll be change at the football club, and that pains me to say that. But you know what? I think ultimately there needs to be some sort of reset here within the football club, because you're bottom of the table or you lose out in a playoff for a reason, and you find yourself in the position that we're in. So as that's going to be, we will now need to move forward very, very quickly. You know, I don't know what my own situation will then start to bring. Individual players are out of contract, guys that are under contract, guys that go back on loan. We as a football club will really need to tidy that up very quickly. But as I say, nobody's going to sort of detract their mind from what's happened here tonight and what's happened over the course of the season. And for that, Peter, in simple terms, it's absolutely not been good enough.
I mean, to pick up the results over the last few weeks, it looked so good, and then obviously the result going our way tonight elsewhere kind of must make it even more frustrating for you that we've lapsed back into what we've seen throughout the season.
Of course it does, and listen, I don't know whether there's a bit of apprehension, whether there's a bit of fear there. You know, that message coming back onto the pitch that you then find yourself in the driving seat culminates with the point in the game where we find ourselves going under, that we make terrible decisions. We do things that we've not been doing the entire game. We do things that we've not been doing for the last couple of weeks. So I can only point the finger at that being mental. Of course, you try and twist, you try and get back in the game. It's a difficult situation, I won't lie. We came here to try and win the game by as many goals as we could without thinking about too many other things, but we knew at some point in the second half, if we were in the game or in the lead, that we'd need to know what was going on elsewhere. And for whatever reason, as a group, that's flicked that switch, and we find ourselves with the most amateurish, really average kind of defending. And then we find ourselves with a couple of opportunities that we probably could and should do better. But as I say, we can dissect it all we want, Peter. It's been over a stretch. It's not been, you know, we've had 3 managers. I'm the 3rd manager at this point in time. Complete overhaul of players. players changing, chopping, changing, trying to find a system, trying to find a level of consistency in players, trying to find players that have got what I believe is a standard for this football club. We've had a huge fight on that at times. We've had a huge fight on this bit that seems to have seeped in towards the end of a season, whereby players aren't available to play and guys are, you know, in a position where it's about them and not the football club. Heard Dougie Emery speaking about that before the game, guys taking themselves out of it and they're trying to protect themselves. Again, it's another thing that I have no idea where it ever came into football. I go in simple terms, you pick up money, it's your job to ensure that you give everything that you've got every single day, and we've absolutely come up short on that. Someone there will think that they've been okay, that they're gold standard in it, but everybody's got a hand in it, everybody's got a part to play.
Obviously you mentioned it's going to be changing the football club. What do you know does the next few days kind of look like for yourself and the football club?
Well, obviously the next protocol is a lot of work being going on behind the scenes. That's been with a plan A and a plan B, quite clearly, not knowing what position we're going to be in. We wouldn't have even after this game, but I think it's fair to say that there'll be seismic change. I think that will absolutely have to be the case. The club will have to cut its cloth accordingly. And in the specifics of that, Peter, it would be wrong of me to say exactly what that is just now, but the one thing I can assure you is that there'll be a lot of conversations between tomorrow, Sunday, and there'll have to be a clear vision of how the football club moves forward, who's in position, who's in post, in all aspects, in every area of the pitch, every area of the football club, and I think that's the bit that probably pains me the most. Is because we know that there'll have to be change going into League One. We'll not be able to operate and function the way that we have been, throwing the finance at the football club the way that we have been. And it's absolutely, whatever comes, it's going to have to be as methodical a way of working. It's going to be downsizing in numbers of squads. You know, 37 players I think we've got full-time players here, so there's going to be a number of changes, but as I say, the right and proper way for that to happen for me will always be a face-to-face. It'll always be that the important people, the people that this relates to, get that information face-to-face, and I'm certain and I know that that's how it's going to move on over the next couple of days.
Thank you, Gaffer.
Cheers, Peter.